Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Looking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Means we're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Chatting some basketball with Matthew Bruny coming up in 30 minutes. Tough loss for LSU on Saturday. In terms of the men, women have a huge one coming up on Thursday in what will be a sold-out Assembly Center, I am certain, against number one South Carolina. We'll talk about all that with Matthew Bruny coming up. We got NFL playoffs to talk about as well. And then David Helman, my old buddy from my days at LSU, was my boss over at the Revelry, and now is big time over at Fox talking all things NFL. We'll chat with Helman coming up at the top of hour number 2. And we'll do a little SEC basketball chatter as well. Tennessee is something else. We start Saturday from the PMAC. LSU had a real opportunity to sweep Texas A&M and move to 4-1 in conference play, but the Tigers unable to get it done in the closing minutes. They lose 73-69 was the final in a game that was frustrating for me to watch, honestly. Felt like LSU had some real opportunities in the game and just did not do the things they needed to do to win the game. And it starts in the first half. Texas A&M comes out and misses their first 7 shots, and Wade Taylor gets his second foul with 15 minutes and 23 seconds to go in the half, and you're just unable to separate from A&M. They don't have their only offensive weapon. You're at home, and you can't push a lead out in the first half. Wade Taylor only played 6 minutes in the first half of that game and did not score. But uncharacteristically for A&M, they had guys step up and make shots they haven't made all year. Anderson Garcia made both threes that he shot. Jace Carter came in and canned 2 threes. He hasn't been an offensive factor for them all year. Texas A&M was 6 of 13 from the three-point line in the first half. This is one of the worst shooting basketball teams, quite literally, in the country. There are only about 30 teams from a field goal percentage perspective that shoot it worse than A&M. But they made shots in Wade Taylor's absence and hung around. And in the second half, the story was twofold. It was, one, Wade Taylor got going, and he got his 19 points in the second half. And 2, LSU got absolutely and totally annihilated on the backboards. And that's the fear. A&M is very, very good on the offensive glass. I think there are 2 angles to that. One, they hustle, they're aggressive, they're athletic, and that's an identity of their team, and they do that very, very well. Game in and game out, they rebound incredibly well. Number 2, I think it's an indictment on the team and on Buzz that on first shots, they shoot like 24% for the season. That just means you don't have a lot of skilled players and you're not getting good looks. But they don't need them. They count on the chaos that's then created in an offensive rebound situation. And in the game, they got 21 offensive rebounds and scored 27 second chance points. The tips, the aggressiveness, LSU's inability to get a body on somebody and block out both the guards and the posts. It was just a field day for A&M once they got their shot up on the backboard. That's their identity. And LSU was unable to counter it like they did in College Station when LSU shut down the A&M offensive rebounding game. They had 3 second chance points in that game in College Station. 27 on Saturday. And I had other nitpicks in this game that were frustrating to me. Wade Taylor gets his 4th personal foul with 10 minutes to play in the game. 10 minutes. And LSU simply did not make him play defense for those 10 minutes. Quite simply, and if you were watching the game on TV, You saw a situation where Wade Taylor
Live
was
at
the
lunch with
lone
Manny
man back.
on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Sometimes the computer has a mind of its own. It just likes to say things. But there was a time on the broadcast where Dane Bradshaw commented that Wade Taylor was the only man back on an LSU fast break, and he was calling for his guys to come down the floor because he couldn't defend. He can't play defense with 4 fouls. Every single possession, LSU should have put him in a ball screen or an attack situation. Every one. Not a single time down the floor should they have allowed him to play off the ball. Just no chance of that. And I didn't feel like he was put in a position to play defense those last 10 minutes. Ever. That's really, really frustrating because if you could have gotten him out of the game, they struggle on offense. Big time. LSU missed its last 7 3-point attempts, which is frustrating. I thought they settled for some of those, but they missed their last 7. Statistically speaking, that's generally not going to happen. And I thought LSU's final 2 possessions in the game were bad. You're relying on a Jalen Cook one-on-one isolation step-back 3. I know at that point A&M knows you have to shoot a 3, but it still just wasn't enough creativity for me. And that's 2 games in a row in the PMAC that LSU has had the ball at the last possession of the first half and not gotten anything remotely resembling a quality shot. And then it's not like they can't do it. They come out of the first possession out of halftime, and they run a gorgeous set to get a wide-open 3 ball from Tyrell Ward. Gorgeous. Like, they can do it. They work on it. They can execute it. There's just a little bit too much freelancing for my liking in those crucial situations. And you let A&M off the hook there. Their best player can't play in the first half because of foul trouble. They get off to a tough start. You're at home in front of the best crowd you had all year by a country mile. And you just didn't execute down the stretch. And you let A&M do exactly what they want to do, which is put up a shot and crash the glass. And Anderson Garcia annihilated you, and Boots Radford annihilated you, and Wade Taylor annihilated you. It was exactly the way the Texas A&M wants to play basketball. You let them get into that. It was the opposite in College Station when you played this game. But you let them do exactly what they want to do. If A&M is going to do some of the things they did in the first half where Anderson Garcia is making threes and Jace Carter's making threes, at some point there, I'm just got to go, well, this is just one of those days. Like, you just have to understand that sometimes in an 18-game conference schedule, a team's going to have their day, and they're going to do some things that are uncharacteristic, and you're just going to get beat there. And sometimes that's what I can accept. I don't want to accept A&M doing exactly what they want to do, and you have an unwillingness to stop them. Matthew Bruny does an awesome job covering the basketball team for On 3. Highly recommend y'all give a subscription and check out some of the things that he does. And he went back and put a GIF up of every single offensive rebound LSU gave up in the second half. And it's maddening. You've got guys that are not turning around blocking out. You've got guys that are just watching the ball go towards the rim. You've got guys that are not pursuing. You got guys who were in position to block out and not getting it done. And A&M just felt tougher and hustled more. And while this LSU basketball program is not in a situation talent-wise where they can compete with everybody that they play, sometimes you're just outmanned, there's not an excuse for getting out-toughed, out-hustled. And I think sometimes that's a lazy thing to say as someone who's analyzing the game. Oh, they just got out-toughed, out-hustled. Because sometimes you just get beat or the team's better. But this, when you look at some of the film of what LSU did on the defensive glass, this at times does look like you got out-hustled, out-toughed, out-want-to'd. And that's all. That's the only gear A&M has. And you let them get into it. There aren't any easy ones for LSU. Vanderbilt at home is about as easy as it comes, and you've played that one. So a lot of the games you're playing are 50-50, 60-40 games. Not the score, the percentage of you winning it. And everyone that gets away, it's going to sting a little bit. Not because, in my opinion, you're trying to stack wins for a resume, but because you're trying to show forward direction. You're trying to gain some momentum. You're trying to capture the interest of this town. And you let one get away on Saturday because you gave up 27 second chance points to a team that can't shoot. And LSU themselves, in my opinion, settled and shot 34 threes and 10 free throws. That's, to me, a box score that identifies with settling for long threes and not getting on the attack. And the result is you lose a 73-69 game that you probably should have won. It's a bummer. You took care of the basketball, only 8 turnovers. 5 of those were Jalen Cook's, and a couple of those were really, really senseless. But you didn't give a lot of extra possessions to A&M. From a turnover perspective, you gave them all on the offensive rebound side of things. And so now LSU will take its focus and head towards Athens on Wednesday, and that's another probably 60-40 game in Georgia's favor. Georgia's got a good record. I think Mike White's a pretty good coach. Is it an elite-level talent team? It's not. It's a team LSU can play with, but they're going to have to play well. The margin for error is thin with this team. So you've got to find a way to get it done. Didn't do it on Saturday in front of a good crowd, which is a bummer. 73-69 is the final. LSU's next one coming up against Georgia in Athens. We got tons to get to here on this Monday. Still got to react to the weekend that was in the National Football League. Still got to react to something we saw on the PGA Tour yesterday, which was phenomenal television. And we'll get to all that moving forward. We got to tell you about my friends over at Gulf Coast Office Products. All your printer needs, all your copier needs, they got you covered. Our guy Trey Beal, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. I love the way that Trey thinks about Gulf Coast Office Products because in some lines of work, you do business with the mom and pop store, which just gives you great relationship and wonderful service, but maybe not the capability of a larger company. They don't have the resources. Sometimes you deal with a monster company in a line of work, and you're just a client number, and you get a 1-800 number, and you leave a voicemail, but they've got all the resources. Gulf Coast Office Products is right there in the middle. They've got all the resources you need to service your printer and copier needs. They've also got the personal touch that Trey Beal and his team will give you over there at Gulf Coast Office Products. GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com, all your printer and copier needs. They bring you our Monday shows each and every week. When we come back, let's point our attention towards the National Football League. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Drop their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast?
Sandergrove joined me and Jimmy Ott for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Andy Esco joins us from Las Vegas. And we do first class, second class, no class. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Tuesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Some good NFL viewing over the weekend. Divisional round in terms of the caliber of play and the amount of football that you get is, by some accounts, the best weekend of NFL football. I certainly think that that's a reasonable take. I can't wait for next weekend either. But it was a good weekend of watching some football. And something struck me in watching the Chiefs get it done last night. It's such an amazing run for Patrick Mahomes, no question about it. But I also want to give so much credit to Andy Reid, because we are watching Bill Belichick get fired 3 years after Tom Brady leaves New England and have no success after he's gone. And so then when you talk about Bill Belichick, you immediately have to bring in the Brady caveat to all of his accomplishments. I personally don't think it diminishes what Bill Belichick did. You need a good quarterback to win a lot in the NFL. And Belichick got the best one, and he won a ton with him. But then immediately when Tom moved on, he won again, and Belichick did nothing and got fired. Andy Reid had a remarkable run with Donovan McNabb in Philly in the NFC. Well, they never got over the hump, but they were consistently great, and they played in the NFC Championship game 1,000,000 times in a row, and they got to the Super Bowl, and it was a great run. And then he went to KC and has taken a different team in a different city, a different franchise, in a different conference, and gotten a new quarterback and been brilliant again. And we always talk about Belichick being the greatest coach of all time, and I never hear anyone ever say that Andy Reid's the best coach of all time. I'll make the case. 2 different stops, 2 different quarterbacks. You're playing in the second to last weekend of the year almost every year. In KC, they are. You're talking about a franchise that was 4-15 in the playoffs for the 40 years pre-Mahomes. And then Patrick Mahomes comes along with Andy Reid as the head coach. They're 13-3 in the playoffs. 13-3. Couple of losses to Brady, one to Burrow. And every single year Patrick Mahomes has been a starter in the NFL, they've made the AFC Championship game. That is remarkable. For context, like for me personally, I put it in context of the Cubs. I'll put it in context of the Saints for you, the listener, here in a second. But like the Cubs had such an incredible nucleus and put together a young, great team that overachieved in 15 and got to the NLCS. They won the championship in 16. They got back to the LCS in 17, and it was basically over. They couldn't sustain it. Everybody's gone from that team except one player now. The Saints had Breeze and a great coach and surrounded him with a lot of really good players. They got to the Super Bowl one time. You know how hard it is and how much has to go right for you to consistently win in the playoffs in the NFL. And the Chiefs just cast it all aside. And this time they had to go on the road. It's usually all running through Arrowhead because they're so good in the regular season. This time they had to go on the road. And they got it done. I marvel at the consistent excellence out of that franchise, and it's largely attributed to two guys. They've had wide receivers and folks come and go. Tyreek Hill, probably the most celebrated. And Kelsey's been there for the majority of this thing. But I think the quarterback and the head coach just deserve such an amazing amount of credit. And with no skin in the game, I was pulling for Buffalo last night, honestly, because that fan base deserves it. But when I watch at the end and I think about Reed and Mahomes, it's like, that's just amazing. Because I watched a great coach and a great quarterback 1 hour down the road for a decade and a half. And they reached this level 3 times. They got to the Super Bowl once. And these two are just amazing, amazing, amazing. And on the flip side of it for Buffalo, it's just gut-wrenching. You saw the kicker deleted all his social media, which I don't blame him. I'm sure that wasn't a very pleasant place. He sliced that thing. I've seen that one off the first tee many times. Many, many times. Just started right and then went right. Well, that ain't good. I mean, there wasn't even any drama in that kick. You saw immediately when he hit it, every fan in the back just like, it's either surrender Cobra or just head down. Like just, and it's over. And Josh Allen played well again. You can look at a couple of throws that he'd like to have back and a couple of catches that should be made. But he played well, just like he played well in Arrowhead. And I heard Mike Greenberg talking about this a little bit earlier, and it's true. Like Josh Allen, who if you were to contextualize his career with Patrick Mahomes, you would suggest that Josh Allen, and I use air quotes here, hasn't won anything. Because he's never won the conference or won the Super Bowl. But he did throw a game-winning touchdown pass, and I use air quotes there again, with 13 seconds left in Kansas City. And then Mahomes went down there and got him. Sent it to overtime. 13 seconds. It's hard to blame Josh Allen for that one. They, in fact, changed the overtime rules of the playoffs because of that game. And it's hard to blame him last night. It was a good effort, just not quite good enough. And it's never quite good enough for Buffalo. You have a run where you get to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row. Then you finally get another really stacked roster. And they haven't gotten over the hump. And I saw Paul Hembekides from ESPN tweeting that, Josh Allen's cap number goes up north of $40 million next year. So it just becomes more difficult to put a great team around a great quarterback, which they have. But they'll have to wait again. I liked the Texans in Saturday's first game with the points. That was a very, very poor thought on my part. Lamar Jackson runs for 100 yards and 2 scores and was great. The Ravens defense just put a muzzle on C.J. Stroud like the Browns couldn't, but the Ravens did. They win at 34-10. And then a really, really good one on Saturday night. I did not watch it, full disclosure, birthday dinner for me on Saturday night, which was lovely. But I was out of the house. But 49ers win it by 3. I liked the 49ers to lay in the 9.5 in that one on Friday because I just thought they were too complete and too good. Turns out they were. but just not good enough to cover the number. And Packers put a scare into them for sure. Big time win for the Lions franchise and Dan Campbell. I think everyone's kind of pulling for them. Maybe not the Swifties. They're probably still on Kansas City, but I think everyone else is pulling for Detroit to get this thing done. Yesterday in the fourth quarter of that game between Kansas City and Buffalo, I was really hoping for a Detroit-Buffalo Super Bowl. In terms of like passion, tough fan bases that go through harsh winters and don't win a lot, Bills and Lions right up there. And I thought that would have been really cool if we in 2 weeks could have gotten that. But Chiefs had other ideas. The Lions get the win, and you hear Dan Campbell's post-game talk about the guys, and he's kind of getting emotional. Hand up. On the air, I made fun of that Dan Campbell introductory press conference. On the air, I did, because I thought it was ridiculous to continue to talk about eating kneecaps for like 8 minutes. Seems like a ridiculous thing to do. It seems like a bad movie script. And I'm like, this guy will wash out of that impossible job in 2 seconds. And it looked that way because through a year and a half, it was awful. What were they, like 1-7 last year at one point? And then turned it on and won like 9 of 10? And it's like, okay, well, is that just a flurry at the end there for Detroit? Or is this something that's being built? And you've got your answer because this year they go 12-5 and they've won a couple playoff games, and now they'll have a chance to play to go to the Super Bowl. And I'm pulling for Dan Campbell. Guy that made fun of him, trashed him, said it was a ridiculous press conference, would never work. He's got the heartbeat of that team. You can just see it in their locker room celebrations and in the way that he talks to them and the emotion that he shares. And, like, that's just what you're looking for at that level. A coach that cares. And Dan Campbell very clearly does. I think all of them do that are left. But it's evident with Dan Campbell. And I think it's a cool story. The Buccaneers played really well. Baker turned it over a couple times, but he threw for 350 and 3 scores. Mike Evans still rolling, 147 yards and a touchdown. But now it'll be the Lions and the 49ers and the Ravens and the Chiefs, and it should be an incredible Sunday. We'll talk more about all this and kind of the storylines that are going on in the NFL with Fox Sports' David Helman coming up in 30 minutes. Excited to do that with my old buddy Helman. But we'll talk with Matthew Bruny coming up next. We'll start with LSU men's basketball, what he saw over the weekend and what they need to do moving forward against Georgia. And we'll also touch on LSU women's basketball, a huge game coming up on Thursday against South Carolina. Our Monday shows brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products right here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. Get 6 times longer lasting freshness plus odor protection with Downy Unstoppables in wash scent beads.
After further review with Matt Moscona, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
121-126-74. Offices in Baton Rouge. Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. Can't wait to find out who's the next to jump ship in Tuscaloosa. You'll know we'll be laughing at him from here. That's on Monday's AFR. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tough loss on Saturday for LSU men's basketball. 73-69 was the final against Texas A&M. I gave my thoughts on it at the top of the show. If you missed them, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can find it. Or you can just go to YouTube and scroll back to the front of the show. I was disappointed in the result on Saturday. I really thought LSU had a great chance to win that game based on Wade Taylor not playing really at all in the first half, and the fact that A&M doesn't really have another option other than getting offensive rebounds, but they got so many offensive rebounds that they were able to get it done in the end. Matthew Bruny covers the LSU Tigers 4-on-3, part of the Bengal Tiger crew over there with Shea Dixon and Billy Embody. Joins us now on Jim's Firearms Hotline. Matthew, how are you?
Hey, Hunt. I'm doing great. The weather outside is a little bleak, but I'm all right.
It's better than this time last week, so we'll take it. Look, so LSU loses in a tough fashion on Saturday. You heard my thoughts on it there, but I thought the piece that you did over on 3, detailing the offensive rebounds that A&M was able to rack up in the second half, was, 1, very enlightening, and 2, kind of depressing. So what did you find as you were going through all those opportunities that LSU missed to get on the defensive glass?
Yeah, I knew it'd be one of the more depressing pieces as I clipped all 14 offensive rebounds in the second half that A&M had, and it was really deflating, I guess, to watch. But I went into that game optimistic, but I did have major question marks as to if LSU could keep A&M off the glass the way that it did in the first game, just because it was such an abnormal performance. It felt like that first game against A&M kind of was just incredibly flat, and now they flip it and they come to Baton Rouge and it's LSU that's kind of flat. I thought LSU overall, I mean, I don't think they played a poor game, but like you said, the offensive rebounds are too much for anybody to overcome. And I think, Will Baker, Jalen Reed, I think a point in that story was it wasn't just those two. It wasn't just, any one player. It was kind of like everybody at some point didn't box out or didn't have their assignment. And it really just came back to cost them in a game that you kind of needed to win. If the ultimate goal is to get to a postseason tournament, you're going to have to get to 8 or 9 wins in this conference season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, do you find that it was a lack of hustle, a lack of athleticism? What was the biggest issue in LSU not being able to clear the glass?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, and it is true to a degree, a lot of rebounding is effort and want to and whatnot, but ultimately there is a sense of technique that I think A&M does really well in terms of like pushing, wedging guys under the basket. If you're not physical with them, they'll push you under. They'll, kind of get good position, and then they know they're not going to make a bunch of threes. They're shooting 25% from three in conference play, so they kind of just chuck it at the rim and go chase it down. And if all 5 guys are not ready to box out, then you're going to give up an offensive rebound. So, it is effort. It's want to, but at the end of the day, you got to box out correctly. Technique is important and just fundamentals.
What did you make of LSU's late game possessions offensively? They missed their last 7 threes, and I didn't think the quality of their looks was great down the stretch.
Yeah, I think the ones people go back to, rightfully so, is the Jalen Cook settling possessions where he kind of just took those little step-back threes early in the clock, and I think those need to be weeded out of his game significantly. He's shooting 57% on twos in conference play, but he's shooting like 24, 25% from three. And a lot of those are because they're tougher looks. They're step-backs, off the dribble stuff. So if they can kind of get those out of his game a little bit, or at least, get him to where they're better looks off the dribble, I think that'd be big. But yeah, late in games, they need to. I think Jordan Wright should have got the ball more. I think they should have just kept doing what they were doing. Instead, it turned into a little bit of isolation ball for not only Cook, but kind of whoever caught the ball was looking just to score.
Wade Taylor was in foul trouble basically the entire game. Did you think LSU did a good enough job of attacking him?
He picked up his 4th. I don't remember when he picked up his 4th.
I got it right here. His 4th was at 9 minutes and 59 seconds.
Yeah, it felt early because he reached on that Jalen Cook one. And then from that point on, he didn't really even have a moment where it was a questionable call. So, I do think they could have gone at him a bit more, try to get maybe a switch with maybe get Wright getting downhill on him. I do think that in the second half especially, you saw his impact, obviously, and just the way that offense kind of just goes through him because they don't have a ton of other creators. They really don't have any other guys that can create their own shots. And in the first half, they hit 5 or 6 threes, and it was guys who, shoot 25% on the year from three. So that was the big point for me, not getting separation in the first half, and then in the second half, not really making Wade Taylor guard as much.
Let's go back to Cook. 5 turnovers for him on Saturday. What do you see when you're watching Jalen Cook out there? It's obvious that he makes them a much better team than they were in November, but there's still some bumps.
Yeah, so I actually published on a story at 1:29, so right before y'all called, on Jalen Cook. I went back this morning and watched a ton of his possessions in conference play and stuff, and then just compared it to the Texas game early on and whatnot. And I think he's okay. I'm not too concerned. Obviously, like when you look at the box score, it's jarring. I tweeted it out. It's like 3 assists to 17 turnovers in the last 4 games. But I don't think he's like out of control and like killing the team in any way. I still think he's generating good offense in a lot of ways. In some possessions, they're not making open threes that he gives them or finishing at the rim as much. I still think he's a big part of this offense having success. I just think, like I said earlier, he has to trim down the fat, not take as many off the dribble threes, step back threes. Those are just low percentage shots. So, I'm not too concerned, but, he'll have to clean it up and they're going to have to be more efficient offensively.
You watch a lot of hoops. Where do you think LSU shakes out in the SEC right now? Are they a middle-of-the-pack team? Are they a bottom-of-the-pack team? What do you think about how LSU stacks up in the SEC right now?
Yeah, I feel a lot better than I did, obviously, going into conference. I still think, 7 wins or so is on the table, and I think that puts you in that group with, Ole Miss, I think, has fallen off a little bit. Maybe Arkansas has fallen off a bit. Missouri and Vanderbilt, I think, are at the bottom of the conference. So I think they're somewhere in that 9 to 12 range, which, if they play well, they can get up to being the ninth best team in the SEC. You can potentially make the tournament, or you'll at the very least make the NIT. So I think that's the upside. And then, like I said, 12 is, you beat Ole Miss already, but then you got to beat Arkansas, got to beat Missouri, and those teams.
You wrote a piece last week about LSU defensively kind of creating an identity and being better, and I would suggest their defense was pretty good on Saturday. They just didn't get rebounds, and so what are they doing well defensively?
Yeah, it was, and it's funny going into that game against A&M. They were actually the number 1 defensive rebound team in the conference. I did think that was a little bit of fool's gold. I didn't expect them to hang on to that number, but still, they were doing a good job keeping the ball in front of them. They weren't allowing teams to put them in rotation, and whenever you force teams to be more isolation-based and just kind of dribble, shoot, you don't have to move. You can box out easier, and just a lot of things were coming easier in that regard because they were keeping the ball out of the paint. So, the A&M game early on, the Vanderbilt game early on, and I think even the Ole Miss game, those are 3 really good defensive performances. And then A&M, like you said, I think McMahon said in the postgame press conference, they probably held them to like 28% shooting on the first shot.
Yep.
Just A&M was just grabbing the ball and putting it back. So
tough way to make a living. If you're LSU, you got to get rebounds to finish those defensive possessions. Want to talk about the girls? They've got a big one coming up on Thursday against number 1 South Carolina. Is this team ready to stand up to that test?
It's going to be a big test. I think I'm going to get more into South Carolina starting tonight and tomorrow. But just in general, it's an incredibly well-rounded team, which last year it wasn't. But last year's team, I think, was more of a problem for LSU because of that size, and Aaliyah Boston and Cardoso were like 6'5", 6'7". So maybe LSU matches up better this year because they are a little bit less reliant on the post, South Carolina. So I look forward to it. I think LSU is going to have to shoot the ball really well. You need Michaela Williams to probably get 18-plus points. And then, the bigs, Angel Reese and Anissa Morrow are going to have to battle on the glass with a really athletic and physical South Carolina team. So I don't know exactly what to expect. I'll probably have, a prediction or something coming out on Wednesday. But, yeah, it's the big one. It's the big one.
It's going to be probably the best environment in the PMAC all year long for any sport. Should be awesome in there on Thursday. Matthew Bruny will be there. He's always over at the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 Network, and joins us from time to time. We appreciate it, Matthew.
Yeah, thanks for having me anytime.
Matthew Bruny, Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 Network. It's Shay Dixon, Billy Embody, and Matthew. Matthew does the team coverage for them over there for a lot of sports, football and basketball, men's and women's as well, and does an awesome job. As I mentioned, he literally clipped every single offensive rebound LSU gave up in the second half and put them into a story and kind of broke down how it happened. And it's a great piece, and they do great work over there at On3. The Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 Network, and we appreciate Matthew joining us. Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. We'll come back and talk about a college guy who's got a pretty big decision in front of him. We'll talk about that next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar.
On Tuesday's OTB, we'll preview the massive South Carolina LSU matchup in the PMAC with Coach Kim Mulkey. Plus, starting to look forward to the championship round of the NFL playoffs. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I heard a funny story earlier today. LSU baseball's first pitch banquet was last night. Big fundraiser. Coach Johnson talks. I got a panel of former players that talk, and some of the current players talk as well. And all the players are there, and they've got their jerseys on. It's a great event. I was there last year, did not make it yesterday, but I was talking to somebody who was there and said Hayden Travinski and Tommy White were sitting at a table, and kids were coming up and getting autographs. And the players are very noticeable because they've got literally their jerseys on with dress pants. And he said the funny part was not that Hayden Travinski and Tommy White were signing autographs. They're LSU baseball players. That's a great autograph to get. The funny part was that these kids were coming up, and Dylan Cruz was sitting at the table. Well, he's not on the team anymore, so he wasn't in a jersey. He was in a sport coat like everybody else. So none of the kids were getting Dylan Cruz's autograph because they recognized Hayden Travinski and Tommy White with the facial hair and the long hair and the jersey, and they were skipping out on Cruz. Some parent has got to intervene here and get the Cruz autograph. These kids, guys, were already worth a lot of money and accomplished a ton of things right out of college. I thought that was a funny story. Speaking of college guys doing some great things, I was watching golf yesterday more intently than the football because what Nick Dunlap did yesterday was absolutely incredible, and it brings a really interesting situation up for him. For those that missed this, Nick Dunlap is a 20-year-old sophomore at Alabama. He's the first player since Tiger Woods to win the U.S. Junior Amateur and the U.S. Amateur, which he won this summer. He's one of the best college golfers in the country. And because he is so high profile and won the U.S. Am, he got a sponsor exemption to play in the American Express over the weekend over in California. He was the only amateur player in the field. Everybody else was on the PGA Tour. And he won. First amateur player to win a PGA Tour event since Phil Mickelson in 1991. He beat Justin Thomas and Sam Burns in his group and won the golf tournament. So he gets $1.5 million, right? That's the winner. No, he doesn't, because he's an amateur.
Which is interesting, though, because with NIL now, like,
yeah,
how I wonder.
But that would make him a professional golfer.
I don't know.
Then how could you compete as an amateur level?
He's sponsored by Adidas. Like I'm
yeah,
pretty
but
sure
it's not a money thing. It's a competition thing. Like, you couldn't go play for the Lions and then come back and play for Alabama.
Yeah, that's true.
Once you've reached the professional ranks, your amateur and collegiate status is gone.
Yeah,
you're a professional player now. So he can't take the $1.5 million. My question was, where does the $1.5 million go? Turns out Christian Bezzecchi gets it for finishing second.
He gets all the FedEx points too as well.
Second, yeah.
He gets all 300 FedEx points.
Yeah,
in second place.
So because the amateur beat him. But now Nick Dunlap has to decide if he wants to turn professional, because by virtue of his win, he has a 2-year exemption on the PGA Tour. He's a PGA Tour player, does not have to go to Q school or play on the Korn Ferry Tour. Like, he can go play. But if he does that, he forfeits his spot in the U.S. Open and the Open Championship. He would not be qualified for those because he's qualified for those currently as the U.S. Amateur Champion, but he would lose those spots. He also loses that exemption to the Masters, but because he won the tournament, he can play in the Masters because they take all the winners since the last Masters. So the question, Beck, is does he take some NIL cash, finish out his last year in college, play in the Open Championship, and play in the U.S. Open, and then turn pro after all that? Or does he just say, forget it, I'm going to go make some cash now. Sorry, Crimson Tide teammates, I'm done.
So my question is, can he just announce today that he's going pro and play the rest of the PGA Tour season?
Yes.
Okay, and that's the case, then I would say yes. I mean, clearly he's playing the best golf that maybe he's ever played. I mean, he won the U.S. Amateur. He just won a PGA or Tour event with a bunch of top 20 guys. So in my opinion, go. I mean, I'll strike while the iron's hot. I mean, you never know. There are times where guys are playing really great in college and then they can't even make it to the PGA. So in my opinion, I would definitely go.
That's what's going to happen. He was actually got a sponsor exemption to play this at Torrey Pines this week in the Farmers. He's withdrawn. He's going to go back to Tuscaloosa, chill out for a second, and then probably make a decision. I think he's probably hit his last golf shot for Alabama. I think he'll go to the PGA Tour and start. It's a daunting deal, but it's trying to get your tour card is so hard to do, and now he's done that for 2 years. As much as, I mean, it sucks for like Alabama. He's their best player.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate.
That can be a national championship caliber team. Sorry, I won. And if he misses that putt yesterday and then loses the playoff, like, none of this is on the table because getting second it gets you nothing.
No.
So it was the fact that he did win it was incredible. I don't know how much NIL cash. I'm thinking the folks in Tuscaloosa are probably a little more concerned with getting their football team back in order and paying those guys NIL than they are dishing some money to the golf guy who's won a couple big tournaments. So I think that may not be a huge moneymaker for him. But it was just incredible to watch. And for him, he's walking up the 18th fairway with Justin Thomas, who's in his group. JT played at Alabama. Like, he's winning this first tour event with like a guy he's got to be probably friends with because JT probably knows the Alabama guys, like Burns would know the LSU guys, but like it's got to be like a idol of his. He's from Alabama. He played there. Like, Justin Thomas was an Alabama star and has won a couple majors, and he's in his group, finishing off the win. It's just a crazy story for Nick Dunlap. I think, but again, I think he'll probably head on to the PGA Tour, which is nuts. There was a great question asked of him in the press conference last night. They said, do you have any homework to do on the way back? And he's looked and goes, yeah, probably not going to do it. Like, that's a perfect answer. Like, I just about gotten to the point where I don't really need to get that GPA up anymore. Like, that's Probably that ship's probably sailed for him. So it was just an incredible story for an amateur player to win on the PGA Tour. Nuts.
And shoot 60 as well. Only a second amateur shoots 60 in a PGA event.
You know, I feel like I'm probably not going to get my tour card anytime soon. We got amateurs shooting 60 at 20 years old. I might fire 60 on the front nine. It's not looking good for my chances on the tour. Probably going to have to come back and do hour 2 of the show. That's what we're looking at here. We'll start things off with David Helman talking some NFL. We'll talk some SEC basketball as well. Hope your work week off to a good start. Thanks for hanging out on this Monday edition presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Question marks surrounding the availability of 49ers receiver Deebo Samuel for Sunday's NFC Championship game against the Lions. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports San Francisco's giving him a 50-50 chance to play as he deals with an injured shoulder. Pro Football Hall of Famer and First Take co-host Shannon Sharp.
For me, I don't see a scenario. I think they put medicine, D.O., you know this. I think they put medicine in. I don't think he practices this week, but I think they put medicine in that shoulder. Given the circumstance and the magnitude of this game, I don't see a scenario in which, unless that arm is falling off the bone, I don't see a scenario in which Deebo does not at least give it an opportunity or a chance to get himself into this ball game and play.
The Lions agreed to a contract with veteran tight end Zach Ertz. His addition comes after Detroit tight end Brock Wright sustained a forearm injury yesterday. Ertz likely will be elevated to the active roster for Sunday's game. Signs pointing to Nick Sirianni's return for a fourth season as Eagles head coach. The team announced that he and GM Howie Roseman will hold their end-of-season news conference on Wednesday. There were questions about Sirianni's status after Philadelphia dropped 6 of its last 7 down the stretch.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Tuesday. I'll tell you the reason your team will and won't win the conference championship. It's unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
From Studio 2 at the World.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Talked a lot of hoops in the first hour. We're going to transition a little football here. Bring on my guy, LSU alum, David Helman, host of the NFL on Fox Pod. Talk a cornucopia of NFL topics with my guy, David Helman. How are you, sir?
I'm wonderful, man. Good to hear from an old classmate.
It's great to hear from an old classmate. You're over in California doing great things. You've left us all in the dust here, but we're doing okay.
I could never. Are you kidding? I mean, I got to stay tuned for what's going on with the Tigers, man. Come on.
We'll talk about that a little bit later, but we got to talk about all things NFL here. What was your biggest takeaway from Divisional weekend?
Oh, I mean, just how many insane quarterbacks there are in the AFC, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the Niners are a loaded team, and it's going to be fun to see what they do now that they survived Green Bay. But you watch that game between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. I wake up and I'm watching TV and looking at social media to see what people are talking about, and people are just like killing Josh Allen because he couldn't quite get the job done. I'm like, man, did you see that guy last night? You know, he put up 250 all-purpose yards, 3 touchdowns, and you lose to Patrick Mahomes, who I think already has a case as the greatest ever. I mean, that's incredible. And then in the other game, Lamar Jackson's probably about to be a 2-time MVP, and now you got Mahomes going against Lamar. Did I mention that Joe Burrow's been hurt for half the year? That's, you're missing him. I don't know how you're supposed to win this conference. It's insane.
It's incredible. You mentioned something that I wanted to talk about. It's Mahomes. You can make a case he's the best ever, and I would listen to that case. But I don't ever hear anybody talk about the excellence of Andy Reid. Talk about all-time coaches, and you see what he did in Philly, getting to the NFC Championship game as many times as they did, and getting to a Super Bowl. They didn't break through. But then he went to a brand new place and got a brand new quarterback and was even better. And I look at what's gone on in New England since Tom Brady left with like Bill Belichick, and everyone's like, and I realize that the rings are what they are. But for Andy Reid to have done this at 2 different places, to me, is amazing.
That's a fantastic point. And yeah, I mean, you can't assign 100% credit to anybody. Obviously, when you have a run like what Kansas City's doing in 6 straight AFC Championship games, it's amazing. You can't assign it all to one guy. And yeah, Andy Reid, he built a juggernaut in Philly. He gets fired and probably didn't deserve it. Eventually, the bottom's going to drop out, and he winds up in Kansas City. And the crazy thing is, before Patrick Mahomes was ever an NFL player, the Chiefs were in the playoffs all the time. They were winning the division. I think they won it twice before Patrick Mahomes even showed up. And Andy Reid and Brett Veach, the GM in Kansas City, had the guts to be like, okay, Alex Smith is good, but we can be better. And now you're seeing it. So, yeah, I mean, Andy Reid already had an incredible resume, but I mean, I certainly put him on the short list of greatest coaches ever. And I mean, what Kansas City has put together here over the last 6 years, you can't say it's more remarkable than what New England did, just because that's two different dynasties with 6 Super Bowl trophies. But I mean, they're making a push, considering what I think Mahomes is only 28 years old. I mean, I'd imagine they're going to be doing this for a long time to come.
It feels that way. What do we make of Josh Allen and then the situation in Buffalo?
I feel so bad for Bills fans, honestly.
Me too.
And that's my thing. And look, the name of the game is to win, and you don't get trophies for being good in a loss. I get it, but I think sometimes we have this tendency to tear people down when they can't get over the hump. And I just look at it, and I'm like, man, the Bills they've put forth their best effort possible 2 or 3 years now, and you just happen to be going against the guy who's even better. I think Josh Allen is incredible. He finished his season with 51 touchdowns. He's one of 17 guys that's ever done that in the NFL, and he's done that 3 or 4 times in his career. I mean, he's a singular talent, and I think he's one of the guys I've been the most wrong about in my career, because I just, you and I are college football junkies. I'm like, all right, this dude came out of Wyoming, completed 56% of his passes. I watch enough college ball. If this guy was special, I would have seen it by now. And clearly could not have been more wrong. I don't know where the Bills go from here. It's got to feel like an impossible challenge. But at the very least, I mean, Josh is the same age as Patrick Mahomes, so as long as you have him, you'll have a team that's got a chance. But like I said, you got to be, if you're a Bills fan, you got to be sitting there wondering when it'll ever happen for you, because that dude Mahomes isn't going anywhere.
I want to talk a little about coaches in the NFL. Bill Belichick is unemployed, and it appears, based on Adam Schefter's reporting at least, that the Falcons are the only ones picking up the phone and calling him. Does that surprise you?
It's a good question. Does it surprise me? I don't think so. Just because it seems pretty obvious from the get that Atlanta's trying to take a big swing. Arthur Blank clearly wants, if he's going to fire Arthur Smith, he wants somebody that is a definitive name coach that's worth getting excited about. I think that's why the 2 coaches Atlanta's been linked to are Belichick and Harbaugh, which, obviously if you're not going to get Belichick, Harbaugh is not a bad consolation prize. It is interesting, though, because I think it just depends on where you are as a team, right? I mean, Belichick is an older coach. I can't imagine he's going to go for too much longer in this second stint. Obviously, it's easy to guess. He just wants the 16 more wins to pass Don Shula on the all-time list. Maybe put one more good team together just to prove that he doesn't need Tom Brady. Whereas a lot of these teams, I think, depending on where you are, if you're just completely overhauling your roster, starting over from scratch, maybe drafting a new quarterback, the Commanders are a perfect example. If you just want to go in an all-new direction and lay the foundation for a completely new franchise, maybe you want a younger guy with more energy that you can partner with a top 3 pick at quarterback. So I think that's probably what a lot of teams are looking for around this time of year. And Belichick's resume is amazing, but I don't think that's what he is. I think Belichick is ready to step into a situation where the team is a piece or 2 away from competing. And so maybe that lessens the number of teams that are looking for him right now.
You mentioned Harbaugh, you mentioned Belichick, Vrabel's on the market as well. Do you think the Saints made a mistake sitting out of this round of coaching hirings and firings?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being blunt, I saw Mickey Loomis's very passionate defense of Dennis Allen the other day, and Dennis Allen is a good defensive coach. The track record speaks for itself there, but I mean, this is 2 different stints of head coaching. That's Mickey Loomis was like, yeah, look at all these coaches that have hit success, and I went and looked it up, and I was like, okay, I mean, you're talking about Bill Walsh. He had 2 bad years, and then year 3, the Niners caught fire. Chuck Noll, way back with the Steelers, you had 2 or 3 bad years, and then they built a dynasty. And at this point, Dennis Allen had the stint with the Raiders, and he's now, 2 years into the Saints' tenure. And I feel like you would have seen it more by now. And so much of this league is based on offense and quarterback play. And for the Saints to get that little out of an offense with that money accrued into it, that amount of experience on the roster, I think it was wildly disappointing. And knowing how easy it looks to win that division right now. I was a little surprised the Saints didn't opt for a bolder decision.
Are you surprised that Jerry Jones didn't opt for a bolder decision?
No. I mean, do I think he probably should have? Yes, but continuity has become important to the Cowboys, and you have to remember the Cowboys. They have a job security that nobody else in the league has. I mean, Jerry Jones is the general manager, but if he messes up these decisions, he'll be there to make the next one in a few years, no matter what, because he owns the team. So I thought the embarrassment of that loss to Green Bay might be enough to prompt it, but you have 48 hours to stew on it, and you think about the way the Cowboys team is constructed, which is to say they've got a 1, maybe 2-year window to try something before I think they have to start over again. So if you're Jerry Jones and you know that the decision's not going to get you fired, it's not surprising that he opted for continuity, even if it was maybe a mistake.
All right, tell me how you feel about your Tigers. BK, you got a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback out the window. What do we think?
Man, okay, we can talk about the Tigers, but I know you, my friend, and I know you can specifically relate. This past week has been like Christmas every morning when I wake up and see the latest Alabama player to transfer out of Tuscaloosa. Every morning I get the notification from Twitter about the latest stud that's leaving, and maybe it's petty of me, but God, it feels good.
17 years. You paid your dues. We've seen it all.
That's right. And people are like, "Oh, you're just a hater." You're like, "Yeah, I am a hater. Yep. I'm 100% a hater. I will be preying on Alabama's downfall for the rest of my life."
I mean, I knew something like that was coming. I didn't know it was going to be this drastic, quite honestly. But yeah, it's been nice to watch.
It's so good. You know what's fun? I've been talking with our friends a lot about this recently. You have to recalibrate your expectations for a college football team now that we're going into this expanded playoff. Because our whole lives, you got to either be one of 2 or one of 4 to play for a national title. And you kind of know even before the season starts whether you've got the horses to do that. Whether you got a good enough quarterback, whether you got good enough line play. And prior to a 12-team format, I would look at this team and be like, yeah, we should be good, but we're not that good. But now, who the hell knows? I absolutely think LSU could make the playoff as a 7, 8, 9, 10 seed. I absolutely think that's possible. So I'm excited to see where it goes. It's a new landscape, and hey, I'm climbing on the Nuss bus, man.
Will I see you in Vegas on Labor Day weekend?
I haven't booked anything, but that is 100% the goal. It's an easy trip from L.A.
Yep.
It's the week before the NFL season starts, so yeah, I think that's a very safe bet.
Love to hear that. Thanks for coming on, man.
Anytime, buddy. Talk to you later.
David Helman, out there, NFL on Fox podcast, doing great work for Fox, covering the National Football League. Spends most of his time with the Cowboys, but does it. And look, this is a time where we're talking a lot of NFL football. That's the number one story in sports at the moment, so I wanted to get him on to kick a few things around. I was almost stunned at one of the results we saw on Saturday. I'll tell you which one coming up next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Give him a call. I'll give you the number here in a second. So get your phone out. I'm going to give you the number because this is a call you need to make to Boudreaux's Electric because you can prevent your power from going out, whether it's ice storms in January, hurricanes in August. We got issues down here keeping the electricity on. Boudreaux's Electric can help you there. Certified Generac generator dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer. And every single generator is going to come with a free warranty, whether it's 7 or 10 years, depending on the type of generator that you buy. You're going to get a free warranty on that generator. Give them a call, 225-300-9389. 225-300-9389. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have been running Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. Have them give you the peace of mind of knowing your power is not going to go out. It's Boudreaux's Electric. The number one more time, 225-300-9389. Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing, and sheet metal.
Sandigrove joined me and Jimmy Ott for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Andy Isco joins us from Las Vegas. And we do first class, second class, no class. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Tuesday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, official office supplier, the New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, ULL Ragin' Cajuns. Shout out to our guy Trey Bill. Awesome dude. Look, you got to have your printers and copiers up and running. And if something happens and they're not, you need them taken care of that day. We know that. That's what they're going to get at Gulf Coast Office Products. Same day service on any of your issues with your printers and copiers. Trey's got clients all over the region. You can be the next one. Visit them at gcopnet.com. gcopnet.com. Saturday, watching some SEC hoops as I was, I tweeted this out. It was a buzzsaw image of teams going up to Knoxville, Tennessee. I don't know if anybody is going to Knoxville or Auburn and winning this year. Like, just full stop. Just doesn't seem like a fun place to be, either one of them. And Alabama found that out on Saturday. Dalton Knecht is ridiculous for Tennessee. He scored 20 straight. 20 straight for the Vols. They dropped a 50-burger on Alabama in the first half. And by the way, Alabama, high-flying, #1 offensive efficiency team in the country, goes into Knoxville, put up 71, and got beat by 20. It was a snoozer in the second half. Tennessee's kind of got everything. They've got 2 really old point guards in Zakai Ziegler and Santiago Vescovi. They've got athleticism and length, Josiah and Jordan James. Connect is going to be a lottery pick, as he's the prototypical NBA 2. He's long and rangy, and he can really shoot, both off the dribble and the catch. They've got Jonas Adu down on the block, who's 7 feet and very active, had 4 blocks in the game. And Alabama's good. I think Alabama is good. They were no match for Tennessee on Saturday. The Vols did go to Starkville and lose, so they're not perfect in league play, but they're 4-1. And when teams go to Knoxville, it's not pleasant. Ole Miss got annihilated. Alabama got annihilated. They're really, really good. I've said this about Kentucky since I first saw them back in November. They're the most fun team to watch in the league because they can go. And they were going on Saturday at Rupp. They scored 105 points. Now, they gave up 96, which I don't think is going to make Cal super happy. They gave up 61 in the second half alone, which I don't think is going to make Cal happy. And that's a Georgia team that LSU will play on Wednesday. But Kentucky scored 105, and they moved to 4-1 in league play. And they welcomed a new addition to the team on Saturday, big 7-footer. They're just calling him Big Z. Zvonimir Ivisic, whatever. Big Z works for me. Do what?
Maybe it's Ivisic. I don't know.
Whatever. It's
7'2", and he looks like Kristaps Porzingis out there.
And he was throwing behind the back passes, and he was just lighting it up. So yeah, they added a little bit more fun to the mix with Big Z there at Rupp. That's a good team, and as I've been saying the last couple of weeks, I do think that the top of the league is separating itself. It's Auburn, Tennessee, and then Kentucky and Alabama are in that discussion too. I don't think anybody's going to Auburn or Knoxville and winning. And so I think those are probably the two teams that I like the best right now. But I think that's the top of the league. Ole Miss is not going to be ranked moving forward. They got just housed by Auburn on Saturday in Auburn, as teams do. And Arkansas is not good, and you kind of think of them. We thought A&M maybe, but they're proving they're not very good either. So that's the top of the league right now. I mentioned that Auburn crushed Ole Miss. After that 15-0 start, Ole Miss is really taking it on the skids. Auburn wins that one 82-59 in Auburn Arena. They held Ole Miss to 27 in the first half. Just put the clamps on them and then got the offense going a little bit later. So I think Auburn's very good. South Carolina goes to Fayetteville and crushed Arkansas. Not only is Arkansas not at the top of the league, they're towards the bottom of the league. That's just a bad team. And it's one of those deals, I think it's emblematic of where we are in college basketball, where you're not really building a program, you're building a team and then another team and then another team. And that is very difficult to continue to sustain excellence. And make no mistake, I think Arkansas has been excellent the last few years based on what they've done in the NCAA tournament. But as those rosters turn over, not like those young players are continuing to stick around. Devo Davis on that team, but nobody else is a name that you would know from last year from Arkansas. And they're 1-4 in league play and 10-8 overall. They're just not very good. And I would have considered Arkansas a team, if you would go back to the beginning of the season, I'd go, yeah, LSU's probably not going to beat Arkansas. Now I would not say that at all. I think LSU absolutely can beat Arkansas and borderline maybe should. If you look at what Auburn and South Carolina did going into Bud Walton and winning by double digits, Auburn beat them by 30. South Carolina beat them by 13. It's a little shocking, but then again, when you look at where college basketball is and the fact that you got guys transferring so much and leaving for the NBA so early, it's not like baseball and football where you are locked in for 3 years. Basically, everybody can leave. Football, you'd have to go somewhere else to play. Now, in basketball, you can just go straight to the NBA if you're really good, or if you're not happy, you can just go elsewhere in college. And so Arkansas has had a bunch of guys transfer out and go to the NBA, and they just haven't replenished it, and they're struggling right now. Speaking of struggling, Beck, we continue to look at the bet on whether or not Jerry Stackhouse will be coaching Vanderbilt for the LSU game in March.
Yep.
My contention is no, and he didn't help his cause on Saturday because they scored 55 points. Just 21 in the first half, and they got beat by Mississippi State in a game they were down 15 at halftime and lost by 13. They moved to 0-5 in league play. They're 5-13. That's bad. It's hard to be 5-13 if you're a Power 5 team.
What's the line going to be for their game this week with Tennessee? Probably at least 20, I would guess.
I mean, it's got to be.
Even at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
And then they go to Auburn. I mean, this is.
Oh no,
yeah.
I didn't. So 3 of the next 4 for Vanderbilt are Tennessee at home, at Auburn, and then Kentucky. which Kentucky will have 6,000 people in Nashville and
Missouri
blue.
at home is a winnable game. I mean, if there's any winnable game,
that's winnable, it's got to be that one because they still got South Carolina on the road, at Tennessee, at Florida. It's not good for Coach Stack. And at 5-13, you got to think that shoe drops eventually. And the other score from in the SEC, you mentioned Missouri. They got beat at home by double digits as well. Florida goes up there. They were 1-3 in league play going up there, and they win that game by 13 points up in Columbia, Missouri. 79-67 was the final. That one. Bates from Missouri had 36 points in that game, and the team scored 67. So the rest of the guys put up a robust 31 after he goes for 36. That's a tough way to win a ball game. You got one guy accounting for 50% of your scoring. So it's a light day tomorrow in Southeastern Conference play. Most of the action's Wednesday. LSU and Georgia will play Wednesday in Stegman over there in Athens. So that'll be next up. As I mentioned, Georgia got beat by Kentucky 105-96. Abdul Rahim from Georgia had 34 in that game, incidentally. So there's your little look around the Southeastern Conference from a basketball perspective. Again, LSU and Georgia coming up on Wednesday. Got 30 minutes left to go here on a Monday edition presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Come back with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com Or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. Can't wait to find out who's the next to jump ship in Tuscaloosa. You'll know we'll be laughing at them from here. That's on Monday's AFR. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Championship Sunday in the NFL, and we've got live play-by-play of both the AFC and NFC Championship games. First, the Ravens host the Chiefs at 2 p.m., followed by the 49ers and the Detroit Lions at 5:30 p.m. Your home for the 2024 NFL playoffs and Super Bowl 58 is 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Mel Kiper put his newest big board up an hour and a half ago. That's what the timestamp on the article says. And I think that some LSU folks will be happy with this latest big board. Caleb Williams is the #1 player on the big board. Keep in mind, this is not a mock draft. This is purely ranking the players. Has no tie to where they'll be picked or what team will select them or anything. It's purely best players available in the draft. Caleb Williams at #1, Marvin Harrison Jr. at #2, Drake May, quarterback from North Carolina, at #3, and at #4, Jaden Daniels, quarterback at LSU. Mel, in his blurb about Jaden Daniels, speaks to just how much he improved as a passer over his last 2 seasons in college at LSU. He said he threw 57 touchdown passes, just 7 interceptions, added 21 rushing scores, ranked #1 in the country in total QBR, completing 72.2% of his passes while averaging 11.7 yards per attempt. Those are spectacular numbers. They really were. The runs against Florida look fun. Like those are the highlight reel plays that you love to look at. But how sustainable is that in the NFL? Sitting in the pocket and making throws is the ultimate sustainable product in the NFL. And Jaden proved he could do that, not for a week or a month. He did it all season long. He never had a clunker. Like Michael Penix was getting the flowers tossed at him late and certainly after the first playoff game. But you look at a couple of games he played last year that were just bad. And Jaden never had that. Every single week out, he looked great. Now, you could make your quibbles with the Florida State game, but look, Kyron Lacy dropped a pass and Malik Neighbors fell down. If those two things don't happen, the numbers look wildly different and the game might be different. Those are not exactly huge mistakes by Jaden Daniels. So, look, I think that's awesome that he's got him in the top 4, and I believe he'll be a top 3 or 4 pick in the draft. But where are the rest of the Tigers? Well, Malik Neighbors comes in at #6. He's the 3rd wide receiver. I mentioned that Marvin Harrison is at #2, Rome Odunze #5, and then right behind him, Malik Neighbors at #6. Kiper writes, I love watching Neighbors, whose best trait is his speed. He can take the top off the defense, was consistent in 2022, showing elite separation and the ability to high point receptions. He was also balanced, catching 35 passes when lined up in the slot and 37 when lined up out wide. I didn't even realize that. That's not something that I pay a ton of attention to, is where guys are lined up. But their versatility certainly matters to NFL teams that are going to put on the tape and look at Malik Neighbors. And we know that the accolades that he racked up and the records, he's the most decorated receiver in terms of yards and catches in the history of LSU, and I think should have won the Biletnikoff Award. But it's a draft year where the top half of the wide receivers, the top part of the wide receiver group is elite. You've got Harrison, you've got Odunze, you've got Neighbors, and of course you've got Brian Thomas. who we all think are going to be high picks. And Mel Kiper feels that way as well because he moved Brian Thomas up 6 spots on this big board to number 11. He was previously number 17. And Kiper writes, Thomas is a fun player to watch, excelled catching passes from Daniels on the other side of Neighbors. He's got great length, huge catch radius, and he's a nightmare to match up with for smaller defensive backs. He takes the top off the defense, averaged 17.3 yards per catch this year. Like the way he uses acceleration, ability to get late separation. Had 68 catches, 1,177 yards, and led the FBS with 17 touchdowns. The arrow is pointing up. Thomas needs a little bit more polish, but he's just scratching the surface of his talent. And Thomas's measurables are phenomenal. He's got top-end speed. We know that from the deep balls that he was catching this year. And he's 6'4", 205 pounds. We'll see what he measures in at the Combine or Pro Day, wherever he is. But if he's a legit 6'3", 6'4", like that's a big deal. And we know that he's really good at going up and catching the ball and really good at making plays down the field. And these guys, 4 receivers being bunched in the top 11 of this big board, and then you got the 3 quarterbacks at the top. Like, it feels like there's going to be a run on those positions. That's why I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to get out of the top 4. I think somebody's going to come get him. And then I think Brian Thomas, where we were thinking maybe back into the first round, I think you got to go get these guys. Harrison will go early. Odunze and Neighbors will go early. And then the next guy is Thomas. Because you're going to have, according to Mel Kiper, like he's got Keon Coleman at 13, and Keon Coleman certainly would fit in that discussion that we're having with the elite levels. But then the next wide receiver on his list is Xavier Worthy from Texas. And he's got A.D. Mitchell from Texas as well. Xavier Legette from South Carolina. Ladd McConkey's there at 9. Like, that's a big drop-off, in my opinion, from Brian Thomas to Ladd McConkey. Like, McConkey's a great college player, and I think is a second-day pick. But if you want to get a game-changing wide receiver at the top of this draft, like, you're going to have to go get it. I just don't see these guys falling because there's going to be a run on them, and you got to go make it happen. So can I see a world where Keon Coleman goes in front of Brian Thomas? Absolutely. Did you see that guy against LSU Labor Day weekend? It was not fun. And he's got that size that we're talking about and the athletic ability. So we'll see what the order is. I feel pretty confident Harrison will be the first. And then between Odunze, Neighbors, Thomas, and Coleman, I think you could shake those things up and toss them. Depends on what you like or what your roster has. What do you need? I would take Neighbors pretty quick. But I'm not going to complain about Rome Odunze either. The good news is that this group, there's helium here for this LSU offense, for these 3 guys. The move that they've made, I would suggest Malik Neighbors was on people's radar entering the year. He had a 1,000-yard season last year, was going to be the number 1 wide receiver at LSU. Like, that's a guy that there would have been some real draft eyes on. You already have seen the production. But Jaden Daniels wasn't on anybody's radar in September. And he has that big game against Mississippi State. And then he kind of kept following up. And you get into the shootout against Ole Miss and the shootout against Missouri. And you're like, well, yeah, this guy, I mean, and you start to see the buzz. Maybe he's a late first-round pick. Now I could paint you a picture where he's the first pick in the draft. Brian Thomas, tools never an issue. Tools never an issue when he was in high school. Tools never an issue when he wasn't playing a ton as a freshman. But you saw him start to make some strides last year. Big catch against Florida for a touchdown. And it all came together for him in his 3rd season. And he goes from a guy that's toolsy that you might take a flyer on in the 3rd or 4th round to like, oh, there's the tools and the production. That's a top 15 pick. And I often talk about the fact that I never get tired of talking about the 2019 team and for that team to continue to build on the accolades that they picked up when they were in college and now that they've gone off to the NFL. And you've got Jets setting rookie records and getting Offensive Player of the Year recognition. And you've got Jamar Chase doing the things that he was doing and being as high a pick as he was. And Joe gets the Bengals to the Super Bowl in his 2nd year. And all those things, I think, continue to show the merit of how good the 2019 team was. And I feel the same way about this offense. The team didn't perform to that level, obviously. But you want to tell me that this offense had, maybe 3 top 8 picks in the draft if all the dominoes fall right? Daniels goes 3rd, Malik goes 6th, and Brian Thomas goes 8th. Like that etches you in the history books. I wish there'd have been a Biletnikoff Award to tie to it, but the Heisman does just nicely. And it was just so much fun to watch those guys play all year long. And it appears now the same stuff we were watching every Saturday, those who are starting to analyze the draft are looking at it the way we did in October, going, oh, this really is good. And everybody's moving up. I mean, for Thomas to move up 6 spots at that part in the draft, you go from 106 to 100 on the big board. Is that a big deal? Probably not. You go from 17 to 11, like that's jumping over some dudes. And for sure, he did jump over some dudes. You're talking about Keon Coleman. You're talking about Nate Wiggins from Clemson, the corner. Talking about Leatu Lato, the UCLA outside linebacker we've talked about, the Saints potentially drafting. Jumping over Michael Penix. Jumping over Jared Verse, who we've talked about the Saints potentially taking. You're jumping over some guys with some real skins on the wall and some real potential. And it's a really cool thing to watch that happen. And when you see the success that Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson have had, you see the success in the draft that Malik Nabers and Brian Thomas have, it becomes a recruiting advantage for you. It really does. LSU is a proven spot where at wide receiver you can come in and turn some heads and get real rich. And that's a good thing. And Brian Thomas and Malik Nabers are about to be real rich. We'll continue to keep an eye on this as it develops and the big board shakes out. But 3 LSU Tigers in the top 11 of Mel Kiper's big board. You got Brian Thomas at 11, Malik Nabers coming in at number 6, and Jaden Daniels at number 4. Cool stuff. Take one more time out. When we come back, we'll close out a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. How would a brand new bathroom suit you? You might have a great interest rate. You're locked in at that home. You don't want to move because you're comfortable with what you're paying, but you could use a little bit of an upgrade. Maybe it's a full-scale bathroom renovation. They do that at One Bath and Closets. You only call one contractor. How easy is that? You don't have to call floor guy, plumbing guy, mirror guy. You don't have to do all that. You call one guy, David Duvall, One Bath and Closets. They come over, free consultation, tell you what they can do. And when you agree to terms of what they're going to do, they'll give you some financing options so that you can get it paid for. They're not going to come in, do it quickly, move on to the next job, take your check. No, they're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Check out the website, onebathandclosets.com. You can get a free consultation, see pictures of their great work, testimonials from their satisfied customers. Again, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. They can get you taken care of at One Bath and Closets.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink, or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local.
On Tuesday's OTB, we'll preview the massive South Carolina LSU matchup in the PMAC with Coach Kim Mulkey. Plus, starting to look forward to the championship round of the NFL playoffs. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
How about Jason Kelce yesterday? Guy just doing whatever he wants. He's out at the tailgate parties, hammering beers. He's in the suite with T Swift, shirtless.
In Russell sweatpants.
Yeah, and he's walking in and out of the suite, like picking up girls so they can see Taylor Swift in the suite, showing signs. I mean, there's got to be like some rules on like where you can and can't go. He just whatever. I'm in the suite. I'm out of the suite. It's nice to be Jason Kelce. Rumors Trav might be hanging it up. You buying that?
I don't. I would be very surprised. I mean, I'll say this: if they do win a Super Bowl, obviously that will make it a lot easier, or that would make it to where I would believe it would be believable for me. But if they don't win another Super Bowl, I think he's coming back for at least another couple of years.
I don't think he's hurting for funds necessarily.
No, he's not.
But if he can make this work in terms of the relationship, that's a pretty good retirement plan.
That's true. It certainly is.
I mean, just billion. A
yeah.
billion.
Okay. People were saying on Twitter if Taylor Swift had bet her whole entire net worth on that game, she would be able to own own America basically.
Own America. That's a dream.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to get there either. We talked about I'm probably not going to be on the PGA Tour anytime soon. I don't think I'm owning America either. I'm just going to have to settle for this situation we're currently in. All right, take it or leave it.
All right, first one, LSU right-hander Aiden Moffitt will pitch in the Cape Cod League this coming summer. Moffitt is poised for a breakout 2024 season. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm curious about Aiden Moffitt. I think there's obviously some baseball diehards who are familiar with who Aiden is. There are probably a lot of you that don't know who Aiden Moffitt is. He was a pretty high-profile high school signee that LSU signed because of his fastball velocity. He throws really hard. And he pitched a couple times last year and then didn't pitch anymore. He couldn't really find the strike zone a lot of times. But he's got a lot of talent because he throws really, really hard. And he had a good summer and was striking guys out, was finding the plate with a lot more regularity. And he had a pretty good fall. Whenever I talk about LSU's bullpen currently, he's not one of the first names that comes up. You're going to see Ackenhausen and Herring and Justin Lohr, all guys from the left side. I think Cam Johnson figures in from the left side as well. As far as right-handers go, it's a little bit different situation. We'll see if Christian Little is ready to help. But Aiden Moffitt kind of fits in there. I think he's down the pecking order a little bit, but he's got a lot of potential. So hopefully, because they play so many games early, I got to do the math on it, but they play, like, in their first, 25 days, they play, 17 games. They're playing a lot of baseball early on. They're going to have to use a lot of pitchers. And if Aiden Moffitt throws strikes, he's going to throw it in there at 96. He's got a great arm. If he throws strikes, he can get some guys out.
Jim Harbaugh is reportedly meeting with the LA Chargers and Atlanta Falcons for second interviews. Michigan should start looking for a new coach. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I think they already are looking for a new coach, and I think he's got an office next door to Jim Harbaugh. I think they're going to hire the offensive coordinator if and when Jim Harbaugh does decide to make that move. It's he's kind of been patient, taking his time. I mean, there's no reason why the Chargers haven't made a push here. Everyone assumed this was their guy. He played there. He's had success coaching out in California. He's a quarterback guy, and they've got a talented quarterback. This just felt like such an obvious deal. Falcons are kind of trying to angle in there.
I just don't understand why he would ever consider going to the Falcons over the Chargers.
Here's why. Because if you go to the Chargers, you got to deal with what we were talking about with Helman. Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen are all in your conference. To get to the Super Bowl, you got to go through them, and that's not fun. To win the NFC, you have to beat Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
So, while I think San Diego or Los Angeles, I guess, is a better gig on its face, you're in Mahomes' division, and you got all those quarterbacks in the AFC. And that's just a bummer. Like, you got to beat Jordan Love and Brock Purdy and Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts. Like, okay. Maybe Derek Carr will throw his name in there.
Well, and also apparently there are some people that are saying that he doesn't want to take an AFC job where he would potentially go up against his brother.
Well, he was in the NFC and he played his brother in the Super Bowl. So it's kind of unavoidable in terms of designing things.
Tickets in the lower bowl for LSU's Thursday night game against number 1 South Carolina are upwards of $600. Take it or leave it. By the way, it's sold out, so those are resale.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'm not going to spend the $600, but I'm fired up that they're going to have an awesome environment in there on Thursday. It's going to be a huge game. I have not watched South Carolina's women's basketball team play a dribble this year.
They're very good.
And I'm assuming they are very, very good.
Yes, they are.
So, but LSU's going to be at home, and this is, I guess, your benchmark. There are like 4 teams you got to deal with. UCLA, South Carolina, Iowa. We'll see. I'm curious to see how things go. If you've got the $600, throw it down. Get in there. Get in the PMAC. Should be a lot of fun.
All right, last one here. Trenton Watford got his 1,000th career NBA point on Sunday. Watford will play 10 seasons in the NBA. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
When we look back at that Will Wade era, like they had a lot of pros for LSU. You got Watford, Skyler. Obviously, you had Naz Reid. Cam Thomas has been fantastic, and those 4 have like really made it in the NBA. I mean, you had you saw
Tremont Waters.
Tremont Waters played briefly.
Yeah, a little bit.
Devontae Smart got up briefly, but they didn't quite make it. I mean, but they had pros, and that's what it takes. Like you've got to have NBA guys to consistently be good. It's a thing that Jay Johnson hammers home all the time. He's like, if we want to win championships, we have to have major league players. Like, that's the only way to do this. And while not every team that makes the Final Four is going to have 4 NBA guys on it, and you're going to have Florida Atlantic show up every once in a while, like, if you want to sustain really good play, you're going to have guys who are going to not get a cup of coffee in the NBA, like legit play in the NBA. And Will Wade got them to LSU, and they won a lot of games. And I know a lot of people thought Naz Reid should stick around longer, and a lot of people thought that Trenton Watford needed to stick around longer. But the fact is, when you're 6'9", 6'10", and you can score and move, like, they're going to find a spot for you. And I don't think Naz Reid or Trenton Watford were great defensive players in their time at LSU, but they could flat go score it. And that team that Watford was on that had Cam Thomas and had Devontae Smart, that was a top 5 offensive efficiency team the entire year, was really fun to watch. Just a bummer that when we had to watch them, we were in a PMAC that had 2,000 people in it because it was COVID. So, but Watford's going to play for a long time because he's really skilled and really big. And that's a good 2 qualities to have. That'll do it for Take It or Leave It here on this Monday. I want to remind you one more time about Gulf Coast Office Products. Shout out to our guy, Trey Beal, for all your printing and copier needs. GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. Only think about your printer or your copier all that often until you need it. And when you need something done, you want to be able to get someone on the phone. You're going to get Trey Beal. He's the president of the company, but he's also going to be your rep. And they're a company that's got the resources and the size to handle your printing needs, whatever they may be. And they've also small enough that you're going to have a great relationship with Trey and the folks over there at Gulf Coast Office Products. We appreciate them very, very much for making our Monday shows possible here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Busy show today. Enjoyed it. Appreciate you all for hanging out with us. We opened talking about LSU and Texas A&M on the hardwood on Saturday. Disappointing loss in my eye for LSU, a game that they probably should have won, and they let it slip away with some poor late-game execution and a total inability to get on the glass. But I gave my thoughts on it at the top of the show. I also gave my thoughts on the NFL, what we saw over the weekend. And Andy Reid, is he a little underrated? I would tend to say I think he probably is. Matthew Bruny at 1:30 talking a little bit more basketball. And then we talked about Nick Dunlap winning the American Express. Just a wild weekend for a college student to go win a PGA Tour event. First one to do it since Phil Mickelson in 1991. David Helman was with us at 2 o'clock. Always enjoy my chats with Mr. Helman. He's the guy who hired me at the Revelry. Reveille. Not the Revelry, the Reveille. He's sports editor there. Hired me. That was the first gig in journalism. Here we are. Helman's out in California making TV, and we do a little thing for 2 hours here on the Hunt Palmer Show. But we talked about NFL football with Helman at 2 o'clock, then some SEC basketball before we got to LSU in the NFL draft. If you missed it, catch it all on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can find us. Search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. We'll come back tomorrow talking all things LSU and Saints and whatever else we can find. Have a great Monday. See you tomorrow, same time, same place.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales service and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales,